Hello, welcome to episode 36 of the Datapack tutorial series. We're going to do a CCTV test. This is going to be part 1, and we're going to be ending up where we can place down a CCTV camera and link it to a button or a sign. Then we can view it, viewing the camera, and then when we shift out, we go back to where we were. So if we're over here, we go back to over here. Okay, if you want to place the camera down, it's pretty simple. We will just do, let's move back, let's do function. Summon a camera. There's my camera. Okay, I'm going to give it an ID. Well, where do I want it to face? I'm going to make it face this amazing structure I've just built. So I will do function, set the camera's rotation. Okay, I'm going to give it an ID. Trigger ID set to 4. So it's got an ID of 4. Let's put down a button here. I'm just going to copy this command block and that button. Put that command block there. I'm going to get the coordinates of this on top. Fill, tab, tab, tab. Copy. I'm going to put that into here. So obviously you only have to do this when you're setting your cameras up for your map. There we go. I now need a button marker, so I'm going to give myself a marker switch. That's going to go on top. Going to put a button down, and I'm going to give that marker switch the same ID as the camera. Okay, so I should be looking at that wall. I am indeed looking at that wall. Shift out. Okay, and we've got 2 other cameras. We've got camera number 2 and camera number 3. So if I change the ID here, let's say view camera number 2 instead, we're now viewing camera number 2. Okay, so that's what we're going to end up with. And then there's going to be a part 2 where we'll add some sort of rotation to them as well. It's going to be a bit of a long one again, sorry, but let's get on and build it now. Okay, we'll start in VS Code. If you don't know how to get to your basic empty data pack, you can watch episode 1. And I'm going to start with setting up the files and folders, well, most of them. In my namespace, I'm going to create a new folder, Predicate. That'll be for all my predicates. And I'm going to create another new folder in the namespace called tags. And inside tags, I'm going to create another new folder called entity type. And that will be for our tag list of entities. And now I'm going to create some more folders. Actually, I'm going to create these ones in function. In function, we'll have CCTV. And in CCTV, we'll have admin. That's where I'll put all the admin commands. And also in CCTV, I'll have a rotation, and that will deal with the camera rotations. Okay, now let's set up some files. In admin, I'm going to put give marker switch, and this will be for making a marker, which is going to hold an ID and sit on top of a button. Let's copy that in bit there. And also inside admin, another one, give sign switch. That's going to give me a sign because buttons don't know who clicked on them. So the only way you can target a player is to say who's nearest. And it's not that great because I might press on the button, but someone else might be nearest. Now, signs and interaction entities do know who clicked on them. So you can use @s. So I'm going to use a sign as well. So we're going to have 2 different ways of accessing the camera. Also in admin, I think I'll have a way of hiding the cameras. This will just be for sort of debugging. And if we can hide them, then it'll probably be good to be able to show them as well. So we'll be able to hide them and we'll be able to show them. I want to be able to set the camera's rotation. Set camera, what on earth is that spelling? Rotation. What else do we want to do? I want to be able to set the ID of a camera. New file, set ID. That's so I can link it to its button. I want to be able to summon a camera. Summon camera. Obviously that summons the camera. And as an admin, I'm going to set up a team as well. I could do these commands in chat, but I'm going to make a little file for it. Team setup. Okay, so that's all in admin. Let's shrink down admin. Now in CCTV, I'm going to add finish viewing. That's going to deal with the player once they finish viewing a camera, which will happen when they press shift. Also in CCTV, rotate the camera. Clearly that's going to be dealing with rotating the cameras. And CCTV again, spectate camera, and we'll have two. We'll have one if the player clicked on a sign, we'll make them spectate the camera, and also in CCTV we'll have spectate camera, and this one will be if they clicked on a button. Okay, done. Now we're going to need a few more as well in rotation, but we'll deal with them later. Let's start with the load function. In fact, let's start by closing down all those open windows. Right, load. What do I want to do? You can ignore that message. That just pops up when you reload it. It's just a bit of advertising for my channel, really. So, first I want a trigger. And this will be used by sort of admin for when they're setting up the cameras. And what we'll do with it is we'll be able to set the ID of a camera. So I'm going to call it my initials, infernal device, and I'm just going to call it ID. And it will be a trigger. And then I'm going to enable that for myself. Now, since this is never going to be used by players, I don't have to worry. I can just literally type a command to enable it myself, and I will be in the world when the Datapack reloads. So I'm just going to enable it in here. Scoreboard, players, enable for all players. If we could even put game mode equals creative, and we'll enable that trigger. I want something to store the current direction the cameras are going. What should we call it? Camera direction. Why, it makes sense, doesn't it? Give it a name that makes sense. It'll be a dummy. And I also want something to store the ID for players, because when a player teleports away from the button to view the camera, I want them to come back to where they were. So I'm going to pop down a marker, and I want the player to go to their own marker. So we're going to use an ID linking to do that. And we'll call this one ID player ID. Okay, I think that's all we need in load. Done that. Let's set up the team. So we could run this command to set up a team. We'll just add a team add, and we'll call it camera. And the reason for this team is because the cameras are creepers, because they have that cool green effect, we can bump into them, even if they're invisible. I don't want to be able to bump into them, so I'm going to put them all on this team. And we will set their collision rule to never, and that's going to stop us bumping into them. Okay, I think we'll do summon camera next. This is going to be probably the longest command and most complicated command. There's a lot of we've got a lot of files, but not most of them aren't very long. So we're going to summon a creeper, and we're going to be running this at the player. So we'll just do that. Now we've got a load of stuff. No gravity. True. I want them to be silent. True. I want them to be invulnerable. True. I want them to never despawn, so persistence required is true. I don't want them to have an AI, so no AI equals a true. There's a lot of true. I don't think we need to specify rotation because we're going to be playing with that, but I will want to give it some tags. Tags 1, 2. It will be part of CCTV, and this one will be a CCTV camera. Okay, now what else do we need? We want to give it active effects, so it is actually invisible. Active effects, going to list in there. We're going to have 1. We'll have ID equals invisibility. We'll put Minecraft invisibility. Good to use namespaces. In fact, I'm going to change that creeper so it uses a namespace as well. Some of Minecraft creeper. There we go. Invisibility is ID. We'll have a duration. Duration, which will be infinite, so we'll put -1. An amplifier we need. It's going to be 0 because you're either invisible or you're not. There aren't any different degrees. Do we want to show the particles? No, we don't. So that will be false. Okay, let's come out of the active effects. We're going to have some passengers. Well, we're going to have one passenger. Passengers. List of passengers. We're going to have one passenger. That passenger is going to have some tags. It's going to have 1, 2, 3 tags. It is part of the CCTV system. It is CCTV camera, and it doesn't really need this tag. I'm just putting it on in case I want to target them. I don't think I'm even going to use it, but CCTV camera, and I'll say model because that's what the player is going to see. So let's come out of those tags. It's going to need an ID, and its ID is going to be a Minecraft item display. It's going to need a block type. What item are we going to display in it? Item that has an ID, and its ID is going to be a Minecraft observer. Now that's not happy, so let's see. We've put square brackets around that. That shouldn't be square brackets. It should be curlies. So let's switch those to curlies. Okay, so we've got an idea. We're going to need some transformation information as well, because I want it to be smaller, and I want it to line up with the creeper's head pretty much. Transformation. We're going to have left rotation. I'm going to set them as defaults for the moment. We'll edit these in a second. 0F, 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 1F. I'm just going to copy some of that all the way up to the word left, and I'm going to put right and paste, and it will require scale. We'll set that to default for now. 1F, 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 and after the scale it's going to need a translation so we can move it, and we'll set those to default 0F, 0F, 0F. Okay, and actually we want to put it onto the camera team, so right at the very end, team. Oh, it's a big T, is it? Okay, thank you for telling me. Team. I believe it's done like that, and we called the team camera. Okay, I'm going to play with the transformation information. I want to change its angle. I want to turn it all the way around because an observer, I want the red bit at the front to be the front of the camera, but the front of an observer is its face. So I'm going to turn it all the way around, and I'm going to change how we do left rotation. I'm going to use axis instead, so I'm going to switch those 4 numbers out there, and I'm going to put axis, and the axis is going to have an angle, and the angle is going to be 3.14. And let me fill in this axis. Which axis do we want to add that angle to? Not that one, not that one. Okay, that seems all right. And then what I want to do is set the camera's direction. So if it is rotating, we're going to give it a default rotation. So I'll just do scoreboard players set any entity whose type equals a Minecraft creeper, whose tag equals CCTV camera. And I'm summoning this right at the player, so I can do distance equals less than 0.1 because it's going to be literally right inside me. And we'll set its camera direction to 0 to default. Okay. And I think what we'll do now is we'll do show cameras. So we'll just execute as any entity whose type equals Minecraft creeper, whose tag equals CCTV camera, run effect clear. And that's basically just going to remove their invisibility. Let's save that, and we'll go to hide cameras. I'll put that in, paste that back in there, but in this time, instead of removing the effects, we're going to give them at S invisibility infinite. We don't need an amplifier, so 0, and we do want to hide the particles, so true. Okay, let's close that. Let's go and do a bit of a test. Here we are. Okay, let's go and find a place to put a camera. Let's put one here. Let's press reload, otherwise we're not going to do anything. So I've probably got an ID now, so let's... oh no, I won't, because we haven't done the tick function yet, so let's not check that. Let's just make a camera. Function, summon camera. Okay, well, we saw it appear. There it is. Oh, his head's very big. I want that to be smaller. Let me pop down a couple of command blocks, and we'll put one there, one there. We'll put a button on you, a button on you. You will be show. You will be hide. You will run the function admin. Where are you? Show cameras. There we go. Show cameras. And you will run the function admin hide cameras. Okay, so if we do show, there's what have I made? Okay, okay, so that works. Let's change his scale. He's too big. Right. With F3B, and we'll just check. There we go. They're both looking the same way. So the creeper is looking that way as well. So this will be our camera front. Okay, now let me change the size of that thing because it's a bit big. I think I'm also going to just put down here another little temporary one. Remove. Kill any entity whose type equals not player. So we can clean up. Oh, bit of... Go away. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go to summon. Summon camera, and let's play with its scale and its translation. So I want it to be quite small, actually. So for scale, I'm going to go 0.3 on the X. I think all directions. It's a square block, so we'll have it. We'll keep it square. 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. And our translation, it's going to be a bit too high above the head, so I'm going to guess about 0.3 will probably do. So we're just going to bring it down by 0.3. Let's save that. Close that. Go back. Reload. Let's go and stand over somewhere. And we will function. Summon a camera. Ah, that's looking a bit better. Okay, that's my camera. It's now facing this way. Cool. Right, let's pop back. Let's do some more stuff. So, what should we do now? We need a switch, and I need a marker for that switch. So give marker switch, and I'm going to give myself a command block, and the command block is just going to place down a marker for me. So give add S, person running the command is fine. Command block. Let's give it a name. We won't give it a fancy name, but we'll put something just so we know. What should we call it? Marker camera switch. That'll do. We'll give it some block entity. Oh, there you are. Block entity data will equal open and close. Block entity data, we will have an ID. The ID is going to be, well, it's going to be there, and I want a command block. So let's use the namespace. Try and remember to use the namespaces. Minecraft command block. And I also want it to be set to auto true, so it's going to automatically run as soon as I put it down. And I want it to have a command. And the command it's going to have is going to be summon a marker at your coordinates, but just we'll lift it up 0.5. Just going to lift it up a little bit, and it's also going to need some tags. So open and close tags, open and close square. It's not going to like these tags at first. We're going to put 2 tags in. 1, 2. We'll call it camera switch, and it's part of the CCTV system, so we'll put CCTV in there. And the reason it doesn't like these is because we have speech marks inside the command, which is enclosed in speech marks. So we could just escape them, which is what we'll do. We'll use the backslash, and we'll put one there, one there, one there, and one there. And then we'll wonder why it doesn't work. We'll have a look in a second. Okay, expected value string. Well, that seems alright. What happens if we remove... Let's take that one out. Oh, it's because I've got a colon there. I've separated my tags with a colon instead of separating them with a comma. So there we go. Okay, so that should give us a command block which will place down a marker. I think we might go and check that. So we'll do a reload. Now I have this button on here, this lever. All this lever is doing is displaying markers. If we have a look, it is literally just execute at markers, play a particle. It just makes it easier to see if a marker is there. So let's get a button. So this is going to be my button for viewing that camera. I'm going to put one of those button markers, give marker switch. I'm just going to put that on top, and then I'm going to break it. So that should be our marker switch. Okay. It seems a bit high, to be honest, because I've lifted it up. What I wanted to do was lift it down. Okay, so we know we've got a problem there already. Let's kill the nearest entity whose type is not equal to player. Let's go back. There's always little problems. So give marker switch. We lifted it up. I want to lift it down. So I'm going to put a minus there. And we'll go back and test. We'll do a reload. Why didn't it work? The reason it didn't work is because I haven't given myself a different command block. Function, give marker switch. Pop that one. There we go. Now it's down the bottom. Okay. We have our marker. Let's put a button on it. Boink. There's our button. Right. I think we will go off and do the tick function. So in ticking, let me think what I want to do. First, we'll do an admin command. So I'm just going to put a little admin comment out when releasing map, because this command is only going to be for setting up the camera. So this will process the map maker setting the camera ID, which obviously a player's not going to have to do, but something for the players. Assign player IDs. We want to know if a player has finished viewing a camera, so we will process player finished viewing, and we want to rotate any cameras, so rotate any cameras set to rotate, because some cameras we might not want to rotate. Okay, let's assign the player IDs. Execute as all players unless score for that player, their ID equals their own ID. So if they've already got an ID, we're not going to do anything. If they haven't, we will store result at S. We'll store result as a score. Stop it. At that player into their ID, and the result will come from run scoreboard players add. We'll have a fake player called ID ID holder. We'll add 1 to their ID. There we go. So the first player will get 1, and ID holder will go up. The next player will get 2, and ID holder will go up, and so on. Now let's process player who's finished viewing. Execute as any player whose tag equals viewing camera. So if they're viewing a camera at that player, unless there is an entity, that entity is type creeper, and it has the tag equals CCTV camera, and it has a distance of less than 0.01, then we will run function finish viewing. Okay, so if the player is currently viewing, they have the tag currently viewing, and they're not, or they don't have a CCTV camera very, very close to them. In fact, I've put 0.01. I just want 0. There we go, 0.01. Then we will say the finish viewing, it will run that function. Now let's rotate any cameras. Execute as any entity whose type equals creeper, whose tag equals rotate active at itself, run function rotate camera. Okay, and let's do one here for processing the ID. We will execute as all players, and let's do the game mode check again as well. Game mode equals creative, because this is only for admin, and we want to check their scores equals, and we're going to check if their ID, that's their trigger, they can set themselves, equals 1 or higher. If it does, we will run function, we want to set ID, admin set ID. Okay. Now for this, I want to be able to use this to set the ID of the marker or the camera. So I'm going to create myself an entity list. So I'm going to go into entity type down here, tags entity type, and create a new file. And this will be my entities that I'm going to target. So I don't know, entity targeting. Oh, I've done the American spelling, that'll do. Entity targeting. And in here, it's such a small one, we're going to write it ourselves. We're going to have a list of values. And so I could have a Minecraft marker. I can target markers. Or I can target Minecraft creepers. Save, that's it. Okay, now let's go off to set ID. We'll keep tick function open for now. Let's go to set ID. So the player has done their trigger. They've set it to a number that's 1 or higher. What shall we do? Well, what I want to do here is first I'm going to reset my ID. No, we want to be able to reset a marker or camera's ID, just in case you want to change it or just remove it completely. And then we'll want to have a function for setting a marker or camera's ID, and then we'll need to reset our score, reset trigger. Okay, so reset a marker or camera's ID. I'm going to say if they set their trigger to 1, that's going to reset the nearest camera or marker. So we'll execute as S whose scores equals ID equals 1. Then we will run scoreboard players reset the nearest entity whose type equals entity targeting, so it can equal a marker or a creeper, whose tag equals CCTV, and we're going to reset their ID score. Okay, next I'm going to copy that line actually because I think it might be easier. Copy that, put it down there. Now if it equals 2 or higher, we're now going to be assigning ID. So our lowest ID we're going to assign is 2, and we're going to run scoreboard players operation on the nearest, the nearest entity targeting, so the nearest marker or creeper who has the tag CCTV, and we're going to set its ID to the nearest player, which is going to be me, because this command is executing at me, whose distance equals less than 0.1, and it set it to my ID value. Okay, and we'll reset the trigger. Scoreboard, players, reset me, my ID, that's my trigger, and I'll enable it again as well. Scoreboard, players, enable for me, my ID. Okay, so we should be able to set the ID of things now. Let's go back and have a little check. CCTV test. Okay, so scoreboard, objective, set display to the sidebar, ID. So I've got an ID of 0, that's fine. So here's a marker. Let's run our function. Oh, it's a trigger, isn't it? Let's run our trigger. Trigger, ID, set to 1. Okay, well, it didn't seem to add that to my list. What if we do it for you? Set you to 2. Okay, have we done something silly? Let's have a look. My tick function, I'm saying here nearest, but my tick function is running as me, but not at me. So let's save that. Let's go back. Let's click on that. Let's do trigger, ID, set to 5. Now he's set to 5. The marker said hi. If we go over to the creeper, we can run the command again. The creeper says hi. They now have the same ID. If we go to this button, we set to 1. It removes or resets its ID. Okay, let's set it back to 5. Actually, it's probably better to set it to 2. And we'll do the same for the creeper. Right, they are now linked with an ID. It's troubleshooting. Just that little tiny thing there. Little pest you. Okay, let's go back to set ID and remove that say hi. Okay, and we'll tidy that up. And we'll save that. So we now have a button and a creeper who both have the same ID. Let's make it so at the moment the cameras are all just pointing off in that direction. I'm going to remove that ID thing as well there we've got sticking up. Oh, no, not that one. Where I might have been quicker to type it at this point. There we go. So all our cameras are just summoned facing towards the south. You're probably going to want to change them. So let's get something to change their rotation. So let's do an admin command for set camera rotation. What do I want to do in here? I want to rotate the camera, and I also want to rotate the camera model. How are we going to rotate the camera model? Okay, I think I've got an idea. Rotate camera model. Okay, we'll rotate the camera. So we will execute as nearest player, that nearest entity, whose type equals Minecraft creeper, whose tag equals CCTV at itself. No, at me, sorry. No, at itself, yeah, at itself. Run, that dog constantly barking really throws me off. At S, run TP at S. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to teleport to where it is, but it's going to be facing the nearest player. And I'm setting up the map, so we don't have to worry. It's going to be me. I'm going to be the nearest player. Now we want to rotate the model, but we need the models. Okay, let's try execute as nearest type equals Minecraft item display tag equals CCTV. I think actually I'll put camera in here as well. I will say camera rather than just CCTV. And it's going to be at itself, and it's going to be rotated as the nearest player run TP. Why do I keep typing TO? At S entity nearest player. I didn't put facing, did I? Facing the nearest player's eyes. Let's try that. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, let's go back. Hello. Right, remember that is facing away from us at the moment. So let's say, oh, here's my room. I want the camera to point at this corner of the room. Well, that's not a very good example. Let's point here. So let's run function set camera's rotation. Aha, the camera is pointing at me. Now, if I make them visible, show, the creeper was pointing where I was as well. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick pause while those dogs bark themselves to death so you don't have to listen to it. Okay, it stopped for the moment, but it's probably going to start again. All day, every day. Okay, so that worked. Let's try it again. Let's just set its camera rotation to here. Cool. So we can place down a camera, and we can make it look in any direction we like. Right, I think next thing we want to do, let's pop back over to VS Code, is we need to make our predicate to check if the camera's ID, or if, we want to check the camera's ID and the button's ID match. So for that, we're going to make our predicate. And since Misode changed the site, I don't know how to do it in Misode, so I'm going to make it myself. New file, and we'll call it ID matches.json. Okay, so we're going to need to open curlies. We're going to need a condition. Condition is going to be Minecraft entity scores, please. Yeah. Put a comma there. Which entity? It's going to be this. Another comma. And we're going to be checking scores. And we'll open again. And in here, what score am I going to be checking? I'm going to be checking the ID. Open again. And I'm going to check the minimum. And the minimum, open again. For the minimum, I want to check the type. Type is going to be a Minecraft score, comma, and I want to check the target. The target is going to be, where am I getting this from? Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm going to do type first. I think I'll be Minecraft score. No, sorry. We want to do target. Target. And the target's going to have a type. There we go. That's what was confusing me. Target's going to have a type. And it's going to be a Minecraft fixed score. And it's going to come from a name. And we're going to save the score into something called fake player ID holder. That seems all right. And the score we're going to check is going to be ID. Okay, so that's the minimum. I'm going to copy minimum. I don't want that space. I'm going to copy minimum. And then I'm going to put a comma there and paste it in. I'm going to say max. Okay, there we go. That should be finished. I'm going to save that and pause the game while the dogs bark. Okay, so we've done ID matches. Now we need a way to spectate the camera. So let's go to spectate camera. What do we want to do in here? First of all, I want to copy the switch's ID. Copy switch's ID. We'll use that for ID matching. And we're using a button for this one, so I'm going to need to tag the nearest player. Tag nearest player. And then I'm going to summon a marker. And then I want to rotate the marker to match the player's rotation. So when they come back, they're facing the same way as when they left. I want to assign the player's ID to the marker. Assign player's ID. I want to put the player into spectator. Put player in spectator. And I then want to make the player spectate the camera. Spectate. Spectate camera. And then I want to remove an initialization tag. Remove init tag. Okay, so let's copy the switch's ID. We will scoreboard. Players. Operation. Is that the one we want? No, we called it ID holder, didn't we? ID holder, ID equals @s ID. So remember, spectate camera is going to be running, or it will be running at the button as the marker. So this will get the ID from the marker and it will put it into ID holder. And ID holder is what we're using in our predicate ID holder. There we go. Okay. Now let's tag the nearest player. Tag @p, and remember it's running at the marker, so I'm going to be the nearest one to the button marker. And we will add viewing camera, tag the nearest player, add viewing initialize. We're going to summon a marker, execute at all players whose tag equals viewing init. We will run summon a marker. Just try to remember to use the namespace, and we'll give it a tag. Tags equals tag we're going to give it will be camera return. That's the point they're going to return back to. Let's rotate the marker to match the player's rotation. Execute as all players viewing. I have to say tag first. Tag equals viewing init at that player. Right. Execute at all players whose tag equals viewing init. And what are we doing? We're rotating the marker, aren't we? As any entity whose type equals Minecraft marker, whose distance equals less than 0.01, rotated as any player whose tag equals viewing init. Run TP yourself to your coordinates with my rotation. Okay, assign the player's ID. Execute as all players whose tag equals viewing init at yourself. Run scoreboard players operation any entity whose type equals marker, whose distance equals less than 0.01. Your ID will equal that player's ID. No, will equal their player ID. Make sure we get that right. Their ID equals the player's ID. Put player in spectator. A nice easy one. Game mode, spectator for all players whose tag equals viewing init. Make the player spectate the camera that has the matching ID, and we saved the button's ID up here. So we're going to be using that now. We will spectate any entity whose tag equals whose type equals Minecraft Creeper, whose tag equals CCTV camera, limit equals 1, predicate equals ID matches, any player whose tag equals viewing init, limit equals 1, and we'll remove the player's init tag. Tag all players whose tag equals viewing init, remove viewing init. Okay, S. So we're copying the switch's marker ID, we're tagging the nearest player, we're summoning the marker for them to return to, we're rotating the marker to their rotation, we're giving the marker the player's ID, we're putting the player into spectator, we are then going off to spectate the camera which has the linked ID, and we'll remove the init tag. Let's press S and fingers crossed. CCTV test. Right, so this is my button. I'm going to need a command block here, and I want the coordinates of the block where the marker is. Copy. And we are going to execute positioned at those coordinates as any entity whose type equals marker, should put Minecraft marker, whose distance equals less than 0.1 at that marker. We will run the function spectate camera. Spectate camera. Okay, fingers crossed. Let's press this button. I can't see anything at all. Okay. Now, let's press shift and get out of that. And let's change my game mode. Why can't I see anything? Well, we are not looking at anything. That's why. It's just treating all this as green. Let's change the camera so it's looking at these blocks here. And there's only one camera, so we remember that our set rotation affects the nearest camera. No, now it's looking over here. Let's try again. And our marker is still there. Okay, we're going to have to kill them when we finish viewing. For now, we'll just do type equals. Ooh! Actually, let's do at n, so that'll limit it to 1 and it'll be nearest, and then we'll say type equals marker. Just get rid of that one. Right, now we'll view it, and we can see the blocks. We've got a CCTV. We even saw the button pop up there. Okay, now there's no way out yet. I have to press shift. And here I am floating around and the marker's still there. Okay, let's do all this bit next. Back to creative. Let's get rid of this temporary marker. Right. So we've spectated the camera. That's all good. Let's go on to finish viewing. So in our tick, we have here. So if the player is viewing a camera, but they're not near a camera, they're not very near a camera, which means they've just pressed shift and moved out of the way, we will run finish viewing. And in finish viewing, we will. First of all, we'll copy the ID of the player. Copy player's ID, and we'll use that so we can send them back to the correct return marker. Then we will teleport player to the return marker. Then we better set their game mode. We should remove the viewing tag because they're not viewing a camera anymore. And we should remove the marker as well. Okay, copy player's ID. Scoreboard, players, operation, ID holder, ID equals my player ID. Let's teleport the player. TP player to any entity whose type equals marker, whose tag equals Oh god, it's been so. Oh, there it is. Camera return, whose predicate equals ID matches, and whose limit equals 1. Set the game mode. Game mode. Well, I'm going to put myself in creative, but you're probably going to want to go back into adventure mode if it's for the player. I'm going back into creative just so I don't have to keep switching game modes. At S, remove viewing tag. Tag at S, remove viewing camera, because I'm not anymore. Remove the return marker. Kill. Can we just copy this command up here? I think we can. That target. Save. Okay, let's go back. Let's reload. Let's hide. Let's not reload. There it is. Okay, let's view it. And let's try a different angle. We're facing directly straight on. Okay, viewing's fine. Let's come back. Ooh, okay, so that did... Oh, it did work. Maybe there's just a bit of lag there for some reason. Let's try viewing from here. And we're back. Okay, that worked. View from this side. And we're back to this side. Okay, so we are returning to the right place. Just had a strange little lag spike. So we're returning okay. Right, I'm going to do a different version. Let's set up a different camera. Function. Summon a camera. Let's trigger ID set to 3. That camera's got an ID of 3. Let's set its rotation to here. Function, set camera rotation. Okay, it's looking at me, and this time we'll do a sign. So let's go back. Let's close finish viewing. Let's close tick. And what we need to do, we need to give them a sign which will run a function. So give sign switch. We're going to give the player an oak sign, and it's going to have block entity data, and that's going to equal, first thing it will do is have an ID which will equal oak sign, and my VS Code extension doesn't like oak sign, so that is, I'm afraid, is always going to be underlined as, oh, is this a problem? Oak sign. So it's got an ID. After the ID, we want to give it front text. Open and close that. And in the front text, we're going to have some messages. That's going to be a list, and there's going to be 4 messages in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each one's going to have some text. So we're going to copy that. Copy. Boink. Boink. And a boink. Okay. And right on the bottom line, so this is line 4, I'm going to put... what do I want to put here? Let's just put view camera. View camera. And on the 3rd line down, right click 2. And the 2nd line, I'm going to have nothing. And the 1st line is going to be a little bit more complicated, because this one is also going to have a click event. Okay, so we'll go here, and this will be click event. A cloak event. What is the click event going to be? What action will you take when the player clicks? Well, I will run a command. Ah, will you indeed? What will be the value of that command? The value will be execute as S. That's me, because it's the person that clicked on the sign, so it knows who's clicking. This is nice. And then we'll do run function. My namespace, IDYT, I think this is episode 36. CCTV. And what did we call it? Spectate camera sign. Okay, so let's save that and give it a test now. In fact, let's go to spectate camera sign. Say hi. Okay, let's give it a test now. Reload. We're going to need to put down a marker there, so let's do function, give marker switch, pop that on there, break that. Now there's our marker. Now we'll do function, give sign switch. There's our sign. Let's put that there. It's got no text at all. That's not good. Let's set the ID of that marker while we're here. We might as well do that. Set the ID of the marker to 3. Okay, let's have a look, see what we've done wrong with this. Give sign switch. We've got front text. So let's, click event is probably what I've got wrong. So what if we remove X? Remove the click event. Okay, let's save that. Go back, do a reload. Give myself another sign. No, click event. Well, click event might have been wrong as well. So what have we got wrong? We've got front text, yes. Front text is a list of messages. I think I've forgotten our apostrophes. So here and here, here and here, here and here. So I'm surrounding each element, each line. Let's save that. I think that might well be the problem. Do a reload. I'm going to do a clear as well, and I'm going to give myself a sign. I'm going to put the sign on. Okay, so we've still got a little problem at the top there, but the bottom's looking good. It's always nice when you get lots of problems. Front text messages. Well, we didn't put any text in there, did we? That's why. So we haven't got a problem there. Let's do camera control. You can put whatever you like. Okay, now we need to put that click event back in. So we're making sure we stay inside these brackets. 2 speech marks for the click event. 2 curly brackets for it. 1, 2, 1, 2. Click event. Am I in the right place here? I feel like I'm in the right place. Click event is going to be an action. The action will be to run a command. The value of that command, I think I've still got it copied here, so let's copy it from this. Because we did already type it in. The value of that command will be execute as the player clicking on the sign, run the function, spectate camera sign. Save. Let's go back. Let's do a reload. Let's give myself another sign. Let's put it down. Looks better. Right click. It says hi. Okay. Let's clear that. Let's go back. Now we want to do spectate camera sign. Now this should be a little bit nicer because we know who the player is, so we don't have to tag them and say, you know, nearest player and all this. We know who's doing it. So we're going to do, let's spectate camera. Let's copy that. We'll copy all of that because some of it's going to be the same. So we're going to spectate camera and copy it. And then we'll copy that into spectate camera sign. And we'll change what we do. Well, we want to keep the ID because that's getting the ID of the marker. Tag nearest player. Well, we don't need to tag the nearest player now. So we don't need this init tag. Because what we can do, well, we'll keep that. Just tag player. So we'll get rid of this init tag. And we'll tag S. Because we know I'm the person that's clicking on it. Now we'll summon a marker. So for this, we don't need at all players tag viewing in it. We just put at S. Rotate the marker. I think execute at S. Rotated as S. That seems good. Yeah, I'm just having a read through it. That looks all right. assign the player's ID. Well, again there, we can just do S. Okay, I think that one's all right. Put the player into spectator. Again, remove that one to put at S, and then spectate. Again, we can get rid of that all players tag viewing, which is put at S, and remove the init tag. Well, we don't have an init tag because we didn't use it. We only needed that because we didn't know which player we were dealing with. Okay. Much cleaner, much nicer. But does it work? Well, let's find out. Okay, now I think I gave you the ID 3 and you the ID 3, so we should spectate that camera there. Ooh, we just jumped straight back out. Okay. Wonder why. It does seem to be putting the marker down. Oh, that was a bit different. It's not rotating the marker. Okay, let's have a little look. I think the first thing to do is check to make sure it is running as me. Oh, here we go. The ID is not right because now it's copying my ID. So we do have to change this. We'll have to set that to the nearest type equals Minecraft. Ooh, what is it? It's a marker, isn't it? Type equals Minecraft marker. Stop it. ID. Okay. Is that all right? That seems all right because we're executing as the player. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So it should be getting the ID from the nearest marker, which should be you. Okay, now we're viewing that one. Okay, cool. Right, rotating the cameras. I think what I'm going to do is end this here because it's, oh, look at my little face, because it's quite long. I'm going to end it here and we'll deal with rotating the cameras as a separate tutorial. So at the moment we can place down a camera anywhere we like. We can make it rotate to face whichever direction we like. We can give it an ID and link it to a button or to a sign, and then we can click to view and shift to go back. Cool. So what we're going to do in the next tutorial is we're going to continue from exactly here. Okay, so it'd be a case of watch this one and then we'll go off to the next tutorial. Anyway, I will see you later. Probably what I'm going to do is record it straight away and upload it. I might even upload it straight away as well. I might not even wait till tomorrow. Depends how much time I've got. Anyway, take care. We've made a start. I will see you later. Bye-bye.